Hi, and welcome back to another flight review. Today we'll be experiencing one of the most underrated business class on the market. Spoiler alert, Fiji Airways is not only my favorite flight of the year so far, but one of the top business class experiences on the market today. Stick around to find out why. This flight starts from LAX to Nadi. Service starts on the ground with an amazing scented hot towel and a really refreshing drink. The reason I believe Fiji Airways is underrated is due to the balance between leisure carrier, perfectly executing the soft product, and selecting a very competitive and comfortable hard product. By all accounts, I should not have made this flight, as I was flying into LAX on a connecting flight which was not connected to this ticket, nor was it with any airline that Fiji Airways has an alliance with. My United flight was delayed by several hours due to weather. I initially had almost a 4-hour buffer between the two flights, but due to the weather delay, I had landed when Fiji Airways had already started boarding. If you have been to LAX, you know that the terminals are connected landside. However, it is an extremely long walk depending on where you're connecting. I landed into Terminal 7 at LAX, but had to run all the way to the Tom Bradley International Terminal. But not only did I have to run to the Tom Bradley International Terminal, but I had to go to the new Salé concourse, which felt like a hike. Now, I am not a runner nor am I a track star, but I ran as fast as I could. The excellent communication started by the ground staff as they called my personal cell phone during boarding and asked if I was planning on taking the flight. I had informed them that my connecting flight arrived late and that I'm running all the way from Terminal 7 and that I would be there as fast as I could. I told him that I would do my very best to make it, and he informed me that general boarding closes about 15 minutes before departure, but that they would do their very best to accommodate me. As my impromptu marathon through LAX was happening, the ground staff was very understanding and would call me to receive updates as boarding was being wrapped up. I was informed that there would be an agent waiting for me at the Tom Bradley International Terminal and they would help me get to the gate. As I came down the escalator from the main concourse, there was a Fiji Airways representative waiting for me. He communicated to the team that I was coming and to hold the gate open. He even offered to take my bag, so I didn't have items slowing me down. There was another agent waiting for us by the elevator who forwarded my passport information to their team to board me onto the flight as we came to the gate. By the time that I reached the gate, the entire boarding was already completed. However, the entire gate staff was waiting for me and were genuinely thrilled that I made it. They quickly boarded me and closed the gate right after me as we met our departure time. I'll stop here to give an absolute credit to the ground staff. The contract of carriage would have allowed them to close the gate on me, and it would not have been their fault. This was not a connecting ticket that I purchased on Fiji Airways, nor did I have any Fiji Airways status at the time since they weren't a full member of oneworld. This was a redemption ticket, so it wasn't even a cash ticket that Fiji Airways made for me. However, the gate staff went above and beyond to allow me to make this flight, and I honestly could not have thanked them more for not only their kindness, but true dedication to executing Fiji Airways and the Fijian hospitality, which is so difficult to do at outstations. When I boarded the plane, everyone was already seated and ready to go. The crew would have been in their right mind to be frustrated with my late arrival, but to my surprise, just like the ground staff, they were thrilled that I made it. As I made my way to my bulkhead seat, there were already a few flight attendants waiting for me. As I greeted them and started to put my baggage in the overhead compartment, they immediately asked me to sit down and relax. I was quickly given the welcome departure items, and they insisted that they would play Tetris to make sure my baggage fit near my seat. All they cared about was for me to begin my relaxing experience while they completed the Tetris game. Again, let me stop here and really give a shout out to the crew. I've been on flights with other 5-star airlines where I have boarded halfway through the boarding process and I missed out on the pre-departure experience since they had already passed my row. For me to show up in the state that I showed up in, and for them to not only give me the full pre-departure experience, but to genuinely be happy that I made it, speaks volumes not only to the character of the airline, but to the hospitality of Fiji. Okay, now that story time is over, let's get back to the actual experience. Some of the reasons I say Fiji Airways is so underrated is because although they are a leisure carrier, they do the business class experience justice by how well they provide the amenities. As you see for our mains, we have 4 different meal options, and they are not cheap options at that. You have salmon, beef, chicken, and a vegetarian option. For breakfast, you get a full breakfast offering, and even though this is only a 10-hour flight, you get both meals and they are presented very well. Now, I'm not big into wines and spirits, but they look pretty decent of a selection to me as well. As we get into the meal service, I will say that service was pretty fast, which is a positive. I would say it was faster than normal, which is welcomed for an overnight flight. However, one critique would be that the food was sufficiently warm, but maybe a little additional reheating time would have been better, as the sauce was still pretty solidified when it came to me. Service started with a Chex Mix and a choice of a drink. I had a very nice refreshing Sprite with lemon. I went with the Fijian barbecue chicken for my main to start the experience. The flavor and the taste of the chicken was actually pretty awesome. Again, additional reheating time may have been better, as the sauce was still a little solidified, but it was sufficiently warm and the meal was very tasty. I think maybe a starter or a side would have been nice, but honestly the main was pretty well appointed and it was fine with me. So again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but if you take a look around, you just look at quality. The bathroom was very nicely appointed, and you take a look at these headphones and amenities. They are very nice headphones that maybe aren't as nice as American Airlines, but they are significantly better than what's offered on, say, Delta or United Airlines. Additionally, you take a look at the mattress pad, and honestly, you receive one of the nicest mattress pads. The Fiji Airways' longest flight is about 10 hours, and this isn't even offered on most US carriers, or what's offered on British Airways or other carriers is not as significant as the bedding experience is on Fiji Airways. Again, for a leisure carrier to provide such nice bedding and a really nice duvet made it for such a comfortable time sleeping for about 7 hours of the journey. One key element of the business class hard product experience that isn't spoken about too much is how comfortable the seat actually is. You could have a very flashy looking seat, but if the padding of the seat is not up to par, then it could really impact how comfortable you are for the flight. I felt that the padding of the Fiji Airways seat was on par with American Airlines, which has a very padded and comfortable seat. As we started our approach into Nadi, a full breakfast service was provided. It began with another nice scented hot towel and a drink of your choice. They also kept the Fiji water coming throughout the flight, which was a very welcomed sight, as I like to drink a lot of water during long haul flights to stay hydrated. The breakfast was really wonderful and nicely appointed. However, it was a little salty, but again, that's just me being nitpicky. As we descended into Nadi, we were greeted with a stunning sunrise into Fiji. So to wrap the review up, I think it's very clear what my thoughts are on Fiji Airways by this point. I really am amazed about how well they do and how well they cater this flight. This is a 10-hour flight, and I think that the hard product is as good, or in many cases significantly better, than some of the best airlines throughout the world. I'm looking at Lufthansa Airlines, British Airways, Delta, United, and even American Airlines. As much as I love Qantas, I think Fiji Airways has a better product to Australia than they do on the direct flight. The service is second to none, and it was very hospitable, comforting, without feeling staged at all. But I just think that speaks testament to the culture of Fiji, as that's the same experience I had on the ground. I think the airline does what they do very well, and they do that at a very competitive and great price. They are a very competitive way to get to Australia, New Zealand, and some parts of Asia. I had booked this with 55,000 Alaska Airlines miles from LAX to Sydney, with a couple day stop in Fiji. This since has gone up to 75,000 Alaska miles, and I was very fortunate to book this before the devaluation went into effect. I still think that this is worth the mile redemption, and the cash fares can also be very reasonably priced for flights from New Zealand, Australia to the US. I think this is my new favorite way to head to Australia and New Zealand, as it really allows you to have a wonderful experience on your way to such a beautiful place. What are your thoughts? Do you think that Fiji Airways is worth it, and are you willing to try them compared to the other non-stop options? I know I will. Please subscribe and stick around for additional flight reviews, as I have a lot of videos that I need to publish. Thanks again for watching the review, and I hope you found some helpful information to help make your decision on your next journey.